resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, my Next Level friends. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Art Next Level podcast. I am super happy that you decided to listen to this episode today. And well, it's going to be pretty awesome because today I have with me the founders of Mentorly, and it's an interview you do not want to miss. But before I do that, I want to invite you to check out Breakfast with Sergio. This is a live show I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:45 a.m. Chicago time, in which I share for 10-15 minutes. I pick one topic and I share with you practical advice for your art career. It is pretty cool. You have to check it out. It is live on Facebook, if you can find me at Sergio Gomez Art. Also live on Instagram, if you can find me at Sergio Gomez Projects. Or you can watch all the episodes in my YouTube at Sergio Gomez Videos. Now, you can also check it out as an audio podcast. So Breakfast with Sergio is also as an audio podcast, and you can download it from iTunes, Google Play, Anchor FM, and Podcaster. So I hope you check it out because it is pretty cool. And well, my friends, today I want to share the story of Mentorly. Mentorly was co-founded by artist entrepreneurs Ashley Werhun, professional dancer formerly with the Les Ballets Jazz de Montréal, and Katherine Macnaughton, filmmaker and co-founder of Biz Films. Both are working artists with 20 years combined professional experience. Mentorly is the first online arts mentorship platform providing accessible and engaging opportunities to connect with emerging and professional artists from around the world. Their mission is to empower artists by fostering learning through creative exchanges and to giving back to the community through their InKind Fund. And you're going to enjoy this episode with our Art Next Level friends, Ashley and Katherine. Hi Ashley, how are you doing today?
Doing really well. How are you?
I am doing great. Are you ready to take us to the next level?
I'm ready. We're going to get you up there.
Awesome. Well, Ashley, I'm super excited to have you and Katherine here in the program. We're going to introduce Katherine in a minute too. We're super happy because this is something that happened, and I'm telling you the truth. It was just a few months ago that I was just last usual checking out my email. And then I saw something about Mentorly. And I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And I clicked on the link. I think it was from Marcy, an email from Marcy or something like that. I don't even remember exactly where. And I browsed through it and I looked at it and I thought, this is a great idea, because how many people are out there who could be mentors, right? I believe in mentorship 100%. I had mentors all my life. I still have mentors. In my talks, I always talk about you got to have mentors. It's one of the pillars of being a successful person, is having mentors, right? Not only at the beginning, but throughout your career. And then also the other way around, them becoming mentors to others. So when we got in contact, that was kind of like, oh, wow, this is the Mentorly place I looked at the other day. So I am super stoked, super happy to have you both, who are founders of Mentorly, here in the program with me, and you're joining me all the way from Canada. So I want to welcome you. How are you, Ashley? How are things going for you over there in Canada right now?
Well, it's not quite summer yet. It's still sleeting outside, but things are going really well here at Mentorly. We're moving forward in a number of ways. We can kind of barely keep up, but I'm so glad that you found us before we got in contact. That makes us feel like the word is getting out there, which is our goal. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing a great job of spreading the word out. And so now through this podcast, we hope to help more artists to find out more about what you do and how it all started. Something that we love to do here in the Art Next Level podcast is also to talk about the stories, right? Because behind every big thing, there's a story. And that's what it's all about. We all love stories. And, the stories of our lives. You have your story, I have mine. Our stories are intersecting right now. And we hope that they will also help other artists who are listening as well. So now, Ashley, let's also introduce here in the program Katherine. So I want to welcome Katherine, who is also joining us. Hi, Katherine. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So welcome to both Ashley and Katherine here to the Art Next Level podcast. The way I want to start the conversation is with a little bit of backstory. Everything is going to lead to Mentorly, but before that, we all have our stories, right? And I'm dying to hear both of your stories. So I'll start with Ashley. Ashley, if you can tell us a little bit about your growing up, maybe, what you study, what's your interest, and a little bit whatever you want to share about you, but don't tell us how Mentorly started. That's gonna come later.
That's a surprise ending. Okay, I got it.
All right, go ahead, Ashley.
So I grew up here in Canada, actually in Western Canada, in Alberta. And from a very young age, I was kind of involved in many sort of artistic forms. And then really young, about 11, I started concentrating on classical ballet and dance. So I started, studying at professional schools at age 11, like the National Ballet of Canada and Juilliard and Royal Winnipeg. So every summer I was honed into this intense ritual of dancing full-time. So when I moved away in high school, I was still in high school, to Calgary, Alberta, to pursue dance professionally, graduated and moved to San Francisco, where I found basically one of my mentors and why I have a professional career today. I was enrolled to go to Purchase College, but when I flew to San Francisco and met this person, I called home and I said, I have a new path. So I think it was a little shocking to my family, but I felt very strongly that I needed to be there. Very strongly at age 18 that I needed to be there. So,
right.
Yeah, so from there I trained and started to audition around the world, and I ended up working for 3 of the most prominent companies in North America for the last 11 years. So the last 11 years of my life have mostly been performing, touring, teaching a lot, doing a lot of master classes, doing cultural exchanges, and then I also started to get involved in the business side. So when I was at a company called Trey McIntyre Project, I was really interested in development and business development and how the company was growing. So I kind of split myself into 2 and started to learn more about that. And that kind of led me to where I am today.
Fabulous. That's a great story. Wonderful. And, it's pretty cool that you are involved in dance and choreography and all that, because just this weekend I did a collaboration with a dancer and a musician. I did a live drawing. And so it's great that all these different artistic disciplines can work together, right? Absolutely. And not only in the process, but now also in this new project that we're going to talk about in a minute. So thanks for sharing, Ashley. So let's go now with Katherine. Katherine, tell us a little bit about yourself too. You're growing up, and anything you want to share about yourself.
Right. So I grew up, my path is a little more linear. I grew up in Montreal, an initial early stint in the Caribbean, which I'm proud of, although only 4 years doesn't count. And I studied in communications in university because I was always really passionate about film, and it's something that my dad and I used to do every single weekend. We go see a movie on Sundays, and sometimes even more often during the week. And so I was convinced that I could combine my creative whims into storytelling through film. And so I studied communication at Concordia, and I met my partner at the time, and we, after a year of traveling the world, we decided that we wanted to come back to Montreal and start our own video production company and basically do short films, music videos, corporate videos, and we did that for a good 8 years and had a lot of fun doing it. But towards the end, I would say I became a bit lost myself, and I was kind of, I wanted to dabble in different sectors. I was always really fascinated about business and the film industry in Montreal is it's a tight network, and I think I wanted to branch out in a different way. So that led me to eventually meeting Ashley, which I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, we both come from creative backgrounds, and that's what's helped to fuel us along this journey.
Fabulous. That's great. So now, since we got into both of your stories, which are wonderful stories, so both independent stories. So now, Katherine, tell us, how both did you actually meet, and when was that took place?
Right. So I remember the very first time I met Ashley. She was we were at a party that my friend was hosting, and she was kind of like fresh blood at the party, and so I think I just I leached on to her, and I just wanted to know everything about her. So I think I asked her like a million questions in the span of an hour, and I just thought she was really cool, down to earth, and that was 3 years ago, I think, and we became friends, but I guess more kind of friends through other friends, and we weren't seeing each other so regularly. Also, Ashley was really busy touring and kind of transitioning to Montreal full time, so she had a lot going on. And but eventually, it's a mutual friend that really put us in touch to discuss our common, I guess, goals.
Right.
That's where
So
we took it.
exactly. So now I'll talk to Ashley for a second. So Ashley, so as both of you got together, got to know each other, and common interests as well, and plans for the future, how did this idea of starting a platform to match mentors and mentees kind of began? You know, was that something that both of you had interest about, or one of you and had to convince the other, or how did that happen?
Well, after we met, we kind of hit it off creatively. So we made a short film together. So we'd already been working on an idea. So we got an idea of how each other worked in that sense. And then, I think it was the starting point for me was being on tour and getting a lot of messages in my inbox and already having this kind of demand for mentees and wanting advice and giving it back. And I just remember very clearly 10 years before being on the other side, wanting advice and having, the confidence to go up to someone and take their arm and say, I need to learn all that you know because I need a career. So I was starting to feel this disconnect where, I was giving master classes, but I really just wanted to talk to the kids. Afterwards, there was this huge area that we needed to discuss in terms of their future, and that wasn't easily being filled. And so I remember coming back from tour one day and talking to Catherine's partner, and he said, oh my gosh, Katherine is literally talking to me about the exact same thing. Other side of it. And I'll let her explain, and she was looking for a mentor herself. So.
Yeah, I think it's, I was also looking for a mentor, but having founded a production company with my ex-partner, it was great because we got to work with a bunch of different people on different projects, but it was also very alienating because I didn't have a whole in-house team that I could regularly speak with and bounce ideas off of. And so I think I was just really hungry to connect to a community and network of creatives and like-minded people. And so when Ashley and I kind of sat down and started discussing all these different things, we're just like, well, we need to facilitate this kind of discourse between creatives and encourage collaboration. And then we just kind of, raced with, those thoughts and came up with Mentorly. Not the first iteration, but eventually it evolves.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
That's so good. Go ahead.
Right. When you're looking at a problem, we started to see so many of these intersecting ideas between disciplines. So, that happens in film, same in dance. Well, I wonder if that happens in visual art, and I wonder if it happens there. So after you talk to hundreds of people and find that this is a common need, you kind of say to yourself, okay, well, we need to build something. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a meetup. We don't know if it's some sort of social network. We don't know what the solution is, but we need to do something and quickly. So then after kind of whittling our ideas down, we figured out that there were main things that were important to both sides of the equation, and that a web platform was, the main thing that made sense.
Well, that is pretty cool, so almost like both of you were thinking in similar ways, but separate, right? And then that conversation began. And something that I love is something that I was talking about the other day in Breakfast with Sergio is after 30 years of being in the United States, I was sharing the 5 top things I have learned, right, of building your art career. And one of them is you have to execute on the ideas. Because a lot of people have great ideas, right? Maybe this is not such a new idea. Maybe somebody had already thought about it, but they didn't actually execute on that idea. And how important it is to execute in the ideas that we have, because I get, and probably you do too, get people all the time that say, sir, you have this great idea, and I have this great idea, but they actually never take the next step of executing on the idea. And I think when both of you had this great idea and then you shared it, and then it had the potential of a partnership and growing together because it was a mutual feeling. It was not that one said, well, this is my idea and it's only my idea, you come and help me build it, right? But rather there were some mutual interests, there's some mutual goals that I think help you form what you have right now. So let's talk a little bit about, we've been talking about mentorly, but maybe a lot of our friends don't know exactly what mentorly is right now. So let's talk a little bit about how would you describe mentorly to somebody who has never heard of it before?
So Mentorly is a place where a mentee can go online and access a wide variety of mentors in a multitudes of verticals. So we have everything from dance to filmmaking to web design to Broadway to arts and business. So it's a really one-stop shop to go online and find a mentor. So we have mentees that can go online, look at a mentor's profile, and see different time slots that they have available to meet. Once they pick a time slot, they can request to book. Then the mentor accepts, and they can meet via video conference on mentorly.co. So it really happens entirely on the platform. And this way, you can be connected to international artists throughout the world right there. And there's no more need for, wanting to interrupt them after a conference or maybe send an email when you're scared to, because all of our mentors are there to help. And so they're there to give back. And so now the mentees can go and find them.
Very cool. And I'm actually on the website right now, and I like to read the categories that you have. So you have music, art and business, broadcasting, design, dance, visual art, writing and publishing, circus, comedic arts, art and history and theory, technology, film, and theater. That is pretty awesome, how you were able to kind of separate those things into specific almost niches and help people find the mentors that they're looking for. So tell me a little bit then, as you produce this website where people now can access from anywhere in the world, which is the beautiful thing about technology today, right? That all these things can happen because we have access to this thing that we call the internet and the web and things connect. Are the mentors that you have right now also from around the world, or are they mainly, North America? Where are they from?
Yeah, I would say the majority of our mentors or our sessions take place in North America. So the largest volume of users are in the United States. But we have sessions between mentors and mentees in Europe. We had one just this morning from someone in New York, and the mentee was in Saudi Arabia. And they connected 2 weeks prior, and that mentor was in Brazil. So we have a lot of these great these different connections that are happening between that we didn't expect would actually happen so quickly, and to see that people are hearing about it in like Berlin and London, and they're signing up because they're like, wow, this really speaks to something that I want to do as a mentor and give back, and for a multitude of reasons. Either it's to earn a bit of extra money so that they can fuel their own projects, or simply because they want to learn from younger artists and see what they're up to. It's cool. It's really neat to see how wide it's branching out.
Wonderful. Now, when you began Mentorly, was it with all the categories that you have now, or this is something that has been growing over time?
So to break down artistic categories is pretty tricky. They're always evolving. You turn your head and now there's new technology categories that didn't even exist, last year. So we kind of had to seek out professionals that were experts in that space so that we were able to categorize different fields that people are studying in. And then mentors also have the ability to customize their profile. So anything that we maybe forgot in our categories and we maybe yet to expand on, they can enter that into their own profiles. But it is tricky when you're trying to split up all these amazing things, especially because today someone can have experience in multimedia and film and all of these different areas. So we did our best to provide kind of a groundwork, but we're learning from our users every day and getting feedback on that.
And we definitely have some verticals, like some disciplines that are a lot more in demand than others. So for example, dance. So Ashley, being a dancer, she has such a large network of contacts that she was able to tap into. And they're very active because, Ashley can go into it, but auditioning and all that stuff, it seems to be a very expensive and difficult, convoluted process. We also, another one is visual arts. So painters, photographers, they're really in demand, and also Broadway theater.
Fabulous. So let's walk our friends through like the process, right? Let's say if somebody comes to the website and they're looking for mentors and they find one that's a match. Let's say I'm interested in technology, right? And I'm looking for somebody who can help me on that. So I go find the profile of a mentor that I like to connect with. So what's next? What do I need to do?
So the website will prompt you to sign up. So you'll sign up as a mentee, which is not a public profile, but you'll have your own account that way. And then once you see a mentor that you like, they'll have a little button at the bottom of their profile, and it'll either say book now or request to book. So when you say book now, it means they have hours that you are available to meet them on. So when you say book now, you'll see their calendar, and you'll see maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they have from 5 till 6 on either of those days. So you'll pick an hour and then press book. When you press book, the mentor gets a notification to accept or deny your request. And then once they accept it, you're all set and your appointment is basically made in just a few steps. And so then when your booking comes and you're ushered through by email notification, so you don't forget, because we know that.
Yeah.
So you'll have a reminder the day before your mentorship session is coming up. And then what you do is you go to My Bookings, and there'll be a little tab there, and it just says join your video call, and then you're all set. So we're also very passionate in knowing that some mentors, some artists aren't paid as well as they should be for their time. So on Mentorly, the mentee actually pays per session for the booking, and that way the mentor gets most of that money to them, so they have extra income on the side to give back. And this is for a number of reasons. We feel that when people put even just a little bit of money towards something, they really show up and do an exceptional job. They come prepared. They have a future investment in their mentee because they know a mentorship session is coming up. They know that they're paying for it. So they're really committed to being the best mentor that they can be. And, we've had mentees have 4 or 5 sessions already. They're really excited to meet again with their next mentor. Some people stick with the same one and set goals, and some people branch out and try others for different needs. We're really excited to see people using Mentorly.
That's wonderful. And that is great on the mentee side, right? I mean, having access to all these directory of mentors on various areas. But it's also, I think, very exciting for the mentors themselves, because there might be some great mentors out there who just have maybe just 3 hours that they can devote in a week, So they don't have time to go and create a whole platform and do all these other things. But this gives them the platform that they could just say, I want to be part of this, and I can just, meet with people through Mentorly, and have the payment system already taken care of, right? Which is some of the tricky parts when you're working online, and security and how you accept payment and those kinds of things. So because you have already taken care of that front end, it makes it really a no-brainer, I think. So tell me a little bit. So maybe Katherine, you can tell us a little bit about how does somebody who's interested in becoming a mentor will approach the platform.
So generally, at this point, they're generally finding out through either the articles that are being written about us or Facebook, and they basically sign up. And on our end, it's really important that we vet these mentors, because we want to ensure a level of quality, and we also want to make sure that they're there for the right reasons. So we understand mentors can sign up to also make a bit of side hustle money on the side, which is totally normal, and we encourage that. But we will also want to discourage abuse and mentors that are just not going to be really listening to their mentees' needs. And so in that process, we basically look at their socials, we look at their portfolio. If we're unsure about them, we contact them to see, why are you interested in being a mentor? And so, basically what's in it for you? But to date, we have just really exceptional mentors on the platform. I think what's great is that every bit of press that we get, mentors, kind of like the ones that are interested, they light up and they're like, wow, this really speaks to me, not only because I get to share what I've learned and I remember how difficult it was for me when I started, but I get to earn a bit of money, which I said already. But then there's also our bursary fund. So we have mentors that sign up, and yes, they're tiered at our top price because they're on Broadway and in really high demand and wouldn't be accessible any other way. But then they donate everything that they earn to our InKind Fund, and we take that money and we put it towards paying sessions for mentees that can't afford it. So coming by our mentor, it's really a tricky thing because it's a double-sided marketplace. So supply and demand, we need the volume of mentors. We need genuinely interested, authentic, kind mentors to sign on. So that's something that we work at every day to recruit, and that's by email, that's by phone, that's by personal network. However we can come by them, we do.
That's right. That is wonderful. But I think the what you have building so far is pretty amazing. And I think another great thing is that because each mentor that comes in comes from different discipline, and then they also have their own network, right? So somebody who might be from the fine arts discipline, for example, or technology, or what have you, they come in and they see a name that they recognize, so it gives them a peace of mind that, oh, this is something legit, right? And something that they could be part of.
Yeah, creating a community of having one tool that all creatives are using, you know, like, so if you give a masterclass or you give a talk at a university, or you're kind of inundated with a lot of requests, and you're on Mentorly, and you can just have Mentorly in your email signature or on your card, whatever it may be. There's kind of a camaraderie of seeing another artist and saying like, oh yeah, you're on Mentorly too, that's great. Because you know, A, that they're giving back and they're guiding and they're taking the time out of their successful careers to give back. And B, that they're on a trusted platform, that there's that little extra level of security in that we know who's going to contact you. We know that they're, you know, passionate about what they do. And so there is that safe space where you can kind of have these exchanges. But it is really great to go around the world, and sometimes you're in a meeting and they'll say, oh yeah, I've heard of Mentorly, and you just kind of, because it's getting there and people are starting to really use it and have it as their teaching platform, their giving back platform, their, you know, whatever they need it to be.
Fabulous. So how long is it that Mentorly officially opened to the public?
So we launched just this last June.
Oh, wonderful. So it's going to be a year.
Almost,
almost birthday.
Almost birthday.
We have to celebrate.
Yeah, we should always forget to celebrate our milestones. Like, we'll high five and they say, okay, and we go back to our inbox. But we should celebrate that one.
Yes, of course, and you have to invite everybody.
Exactly, around the world.
Exactly. Now, when you launch something new, especially an online platform like this, there are many challenges, right? So what's been one of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome to put together Mentorly and to be what it is right now? Either Ashley or Katherine, whichever you want to go first.
Well, the day we launched, the power went out on our block.
Oh, no.
And it went back on. And so that was our big, like, okay, it's fine. So that was our first crisis scenario, but we got over that very quickly. The biggest challenge,
I would say, I mean, so we're both smart girls, you know, we're like, we buckle down, we work hard, we're diligent and all that stuff. But starting a business, I mean, it's so obvious. Starting a business is not easy.
Right.
You know, there's so many, it's such an intricate mechanism, and there's so many working parts, and there's so many ways in which those parts can be assembled, and what's the best way. And so it's constantly just trying to find the best kind of, I guess, map for ourselves. And in the process, you know, surrounding ourselves by people that really believe in us, which has been huge, very instrumental in helping us grow. But I think it's really just, you know, trying to figure it out. Every day is a bit of a slog, and you're learning constantly, and you feel like you're never going to be able to really get a full grasp of everything. But it does come, and you do finally end up with a bigger picture of the work at hand. And I think what goes in hand with that is really learning to trust yourself and trust your gut, because, as I said, lots of advisors, but sometimes you have to pick and choose, and you have to really just like go with what feels right for your business and for your partnership. And yeah, so there's a huge learning curve, definitely.
Exactly. And there will always be challenges ahead, right? You pass one challenge, but doesn't mean that's the end of it, right? There will be another one just down the corner. So, but go ahead.
I think that's the good thing about a platform that's growing, is that the moment you think you have accomplished and you've developed something that is enough, it can grow and it can be better, you know. And just like an art form, so when you're digging into one skill or a mastery of something, you're never going to feel like you've done that and you can deliver, you know. It's not a ship and deliver company. It's an experience company. And so with so many people involved in terms of internal team and excess users now, you know, your users can go from 400 to 800 overnight. And so that means different needs on their end, different feedback. And so kind of trying to listen as deeply as you can and understand their underlying needs. So maybe someone is needing the platform to look like this, but what they're really asking is just for the calendar to be improved, or maybe they're having trouble with this aspect of it, but what they're really needing is just one of us being customer support while they're logging on to their first session, so now they know how to use it and then they're good. So it's really great to have so much feedback, but again, you have to kind of listen deeper and understand how you can solve this, and then how can you solve this for many. So if the use case was this 1 or 3 people, you know that's going to happen to maybe 100 more people. So how can you get in front of those problems and navigate around them? But I think the constant growing and evolving of it is what excites both of us.
Exactly.
But it is what's most challenging as well.
Right. And as the technology evolves too, making sure that it's functional and workable. So the calls can be done also over the phone?
No, so everything happens via Mentorly. Yeah, so it really, on a computer. So it really protects everyone. So it protects your social, it protects your phone number. These people are your Mentorly family, and we connect you all via the platform. So it's kind of a one place that you can go. So everyone has their laptops open, ready to go. And, we looked again, I think it's very 2017, was it, when we were talking about, let's build an app for this, and that's not always the solution. We think that mobile was the first rollout we wanted to do when people will be walking or on the bus, and is that the most mindful place to give a mentorship session? So having a computer, you're already encouraging people to sit down, have a quiet space, have some privacy, focus with your mentee and give back, because it is so easy today when we have so many distractions that if you don't have appointments for something, it's hard to stay connected to it. And I think that's one thing that mentors often ask mentees to be, is accountable to their own goals. And now we're asking everyone to be accountable with their mentorship relationships.
Fabulous. I love it. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit to the personal side, because I'm always interested on that too. So now, how do you manage both the business aspect of Mentorly, running the business, and your own artistic practice? How has that influenced or changed your own artistic practice?
Well,
Katherine, go first.
In my case, I still get to do. What's amazing is that having a production company, before I was always making work, unless I was making a dance film with Ashley, I was always making work for other people. And it's hard to follow all their requests, and sometimes your creative vision is going to be tempered because that doesn't fit in their budget, or they want something more straightforward. In our case, I get to make kind of most of our branding materials, so our videos, and I love putzing around doing design work on Photoshop. So in that sense, I really get to flex my creative muscles, and I feel like I've learned way more doing that for myself, for our company, than before. So I feel creatively challenged, and also running a business is it's a creative challenge in of itself. So I just feel like it's a smash, it's a potpourri of all these wonderful things, and the challenge is always present.
Fabulous. How about for you, Ashley?
Yeah, we're so grateful to have Katherine's amazing video skills and branding, because people will be like, well, that video, and I'm like, well, Katherine, that's her today. It's pretty amazing. So for me, when we first started out, for about a year, I was doing a balancing act of both, a full-time dance career and Mentorly. So it felt like a circus a lot of the times. It was being up before the dance day, being on email, taking a business call at lunch, and then going back on it at night. And I think what it helped me to do is actually enjoy my creative process and my art form more, because it was such a intentional thing to say, okay, you're only concentrating on this when you really have a million things that you could be worrying about. But worrying about them is not helping. And especially dance, it's a very physical, dangerous thing to be doing if your mind isn't present. But I think the most challenging is just the physical exhaustion and the mind exhaustion that happens between balancing both. But I do think that, having a creative background and being an artist makes you develop all of these skills that you don't really know you're developing. Time management, communication skills, patience, all of these empathetic things that you practice every day in your art form that makes you better in the business world, because when you come at it, you're coming at it from a very different place. You're not just thinking dollar signs, you're thinking about human interaction and that sort of thing. So I've come onto Mentorly full-time recently, which has been probably the most exciting step in my career so far. And, I think you can create in many ways. Like, even if we're brainstorming about a video, like, I think that is sometimes more creative, again, than being a studio taking someone else's direction or being told what to do. So I do feel creatively challenged, and, I'm always dancing around the office when we're getting in.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we always joke that when the office gets really big, we'll just have Mentorly dance breaks.
That's right.
But I think it's the most beautiful transition I could make, because we're still so close to the artists we work with, hearing their stories, enabling them to have an easier path. And I think, if Katherine and I can make someone else's path into filmmaking or dance or whatever their journey is, more smooth, with more confidence, with less ups and downs than we had, then I think mission accomplished. So.
Fabulous. And I think, maybe you probably agree with me in the same way that, a lot of people approach me and say, Sergio, how can you do curation and have your gallery and also do education and have the art next level and do your podcast and do breakfast now with Sergio and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, I think you create your own path, right? And I don't see it like as putting different hats. I never like the analogy of, I'm going to have the hat of the guy who does the podcast, and then I go in the studio and I put the hat of the artist. It's the same person. It's the same hat, right? Wherever I go is the same hat. So I think the whole idea of creating a career that you're excited about, that uses your all different skills, no matter where you go, right? So when you are in the office making decisions for Mentorly, you are the same artist who is in the dance floor or in the film production studio, because it's the same. You is the same person making those decisions based on all the history, all the understanding that you have gathered over the years. All the experience walks with you wherever you go. It's not like, that's why I never like the analogy of the different hats, because every hat implies a different personality, which could happen if you have a 9-to-5 job that maybe you hate, right? So you act differently at that 9-to-5 because you hate that job. But when you have the same hat and you behave and you act the same, then wherever you go is you, and you are providing that value, that experience that I think at the end of the day, it's part of your art career. What we are doing right now as a podcast, having this conversation with you, I consider this part of my art career. I don't say, I should be in the studio right now, doing something. No, because I love doing this, and this is part of the career I chose. So it sounds like, for you, it's the same. It's who you are. That's why you started Mentorly, not because you needed a job, something else to do. Exactly. But because you had that passion, you wanted to put this together and bring who you are and the skill sets that you have into make this, and at the end of the day, impact more people because of it. So that's very cool. Now, we're getting close to wrap it up for today, but I'm also very interested because right now you are at the verge of the first year, right? So I'll start with Katherine. Katherine, what has been one of the kind of like the most rewarding things when you sit back at night and say, okay, it was a really busy day, but in this whole year, what's one of the most rewarding things that you have personally on being part of Mentorly?
I think we might end up repeating each other a bit on this one, but
that's okay.
I think it's really just about, just this morning we had that session between the New York mentor and the mentee in Saudi Arabia, and Ashley and I were just, poised and ready for something to go wrong, and then the fact that it just connected, and then we check in and, how did it go? And they're like, oh my God, it was brilliant. Thank you. Like, I love Mentorly. That makes everything worthwhile, because that is ultimately what we're out to do. So I think it's incredibly rewarding, fulfilling to know that we are having this impact. It's so easy to get lost in the nitty gritty, especially myself. I'm so overly detail oriented and analytical that I get lost in all of that thought process. But it's nice to step back and be like, well, ultimately, and Ashley helps me to remember this often, is just like, well, what did we do? We connected to people that wouldn't have connected any other way. And so then it's like, oh, right, we are succeeding and we are making a difference. So that to me is the biggest takeaway. And I think on another level, it's also like I've learned so much just about myself, and I've learned to trust myself and to to be a bit more proud and of the work that I'm able to do. And that's not something that always comes so easily, and that's very comfortable to do at times.
That's right. Awesome. Thank you, Katherine. How about for you, Ashley?
I think what we've been able to do is really stick to the integrity of our platform and the integrity of our idea and how we want it to play out. I think when you put something into the world, you don't know how people are going to use it. And they're using it as we imagined and as we wished. And it's so nice to have a partner who won't settle for less. When we first launched, we were working with our web team, and the platform had all of the UX experiences that we wanted, and it didn't feel like Mentorly. And you can't put your name on it or an idea of, no, it's this color or it's this font, but it was an overall feeling. So we did a full redesign. And I think that redesign is the reason that when you go on the platform, you're like, oh, this was made for me. It's not just a generic tech thing and they're trying to solve this problem of mentorship because they read about it. It's something that we felt on a very deep level, and then we're committing to each part of it. So as it's growing, we're doing it in a way that we're very proud of, and that we know that mentees are getting guidance, like Katherine said. And you can't, one of the things in the startup world, you can get lost in how much money have you raised and how much users do you have, and they don't often measure the impact in someone's life that one session can have. And so I think as we grow and as we learn more about these people's stories, we just hope that Mentorly will be an integral part of their growth. And I think that impact, that unmeasurable human impact, and has been probably the most rewarding thing.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that because that is very important. At the end of the day, when you celebrate your first year, okay, so what happened? You're running in the treadmill, right? You need to get out of the treadmill for a minute. Okay, see what happened before you jump back again for your next year. So we'll be looking forward to celebrate with you both as well. So we are going to wrap it up. Unfortunately, every beginning has an end, at least on the podcast side. So if you could share with our friends the website, where can they find you? Also, where are you in social media? All that good stuff so that our friends can find you. Ashley.
Sure. The website is mentorly.co. So it's mentorly.co. And you can find us on all the socials. On Instagram, we're Mentorly Official. We often do behind the scenes at the office. And also we talk a lot about our mentors and their stories there. So that's great. You can like us on Facebook at Mentorly, and then Twitter at InfoMentorly. And so we try to keep that content coming. We always have new stories, success stories that you can follow along with, and we'd love to have you there.
Fabulously. All right. Well, my friends, we have come to the end. So one last word before we go. Maybe Katherine, anything that you want to say on behalf of Mentorly before we close for the session today?
Yeah, just sign up. If you are remotely artistically inclined and you want to learn from someone to basically, improve a skill or get an edge on your career, then just have a look, sign up, have a look and see if it's for you. And, we're very flexible. We're a young startup, so give us a shot, and we welcome feedback. And, if we don't have a mentor on our platform that you're looking for, that you'd like to connect with, let us know. We'll try recruiting them for you.
Fabulous. Well, Ashley, thank you so much. Katherine, thank you so much for being here with Our Next Level with all our friends. I really enjoyed this conversation. We could continue going on, but we have to end it. So you are both really, really nice, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And with this, my friends, I want to invite you again to check out Mentorly, and you have heard the story behind it. Super cool. And with this, I want to say goodbye, and I will see you at the next level.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.